Hi, welcome back to the Spirit's Path. This is D, and today's tarot card of the day out of the Wildwood Tarot deck is the Six of Stones, an Exploitation. And when I was thinking about this card today, I was like, okay, we just had some clearing out with the fire going on in the background of the clearance card, with that Seven of Bows. And, we got that fire raging, behind us, in the Six of Stones, Exploitation. And, when I was thinking about it, I was like, I'll be honest with you, I don't have a great affinity for this card, all right? Because this exploitation to me, I take it more into a personal realm where, people can exploit you to get what they want, okay? And, I try to keep things positive. I try to keep things on the upside, and not to, worry about other people taking advantage of me or you or anybody else. But this fire is going off in the background. And, we see a lot of areas that are going through forest fires and fires in just, in Canada, fires in the United States, and just making life unhealthy for a lot of other people, as that smoke drifts west. Right? And I'm sure it's like that in Europe. I'm sure it's like that in Africa and, Asia and all the other, countries and continents. So I know we're not the only ones being affected. I mean, the whole world's being affected. But what the fire is doing is it's also cleaning. It's clearing the land. All right? Whether this was intentional, whether this was, from a lightning strike, right? And what it does is it allows the land to be reborn, okay? And, we allow that, let the ground settle, and then new life starts coming through. And, it takes a period of years for all that to happen. And that's part of that clearing out that Mother Nature has. We're looking here at the personal side of it. But, in the Six of Stones, exploitation, I'm looking at it as a natural event, right? But, the main thing around this card is it's the overuse of resources. Okay, so here we have this older man and, possibly his daughter, maybe it's his wife, all right, and they're haggard looking, all right? They've got the beehives there, but, the bees aren't doing well, okay? You got the broken rake down there, and then you've got, off in the background, you've got the fire going. So, this couple, farmers, working out in the field, or just, coming out of that wildwood forest, into this, little plains area, they haven't used their resources correctly. And that causes an imbalance, for their life. And it's damaging to them, because now they're sitting there with, their hands out in the bowls, and they're like, can you help us? We need help. And it's like, yes, we can help you, all right? I'm never going to turn down an opportunity to help somebody. But at the same time, it's like, I don't want you, I can give you, some funds to get some food, but I don't want you going out spending it, on stuff you shouldn't be spending it on, all right? So it's using those resources correctly. And that Queen of Stones, we were talking about her yesterday. She wants to protect and nurture what's going on. Her and the King of Stones are pretty much working with you, to show you the advice and the nurturing aspect of it, of your resources, of how you go about clearing things out so you can manifest with the shaman new opportunities to come in. And we talked yesterday about the, about that room that you open up the door and just clear out a little bit. All right. Now you may find some stuff in there, and I know some people will just go in there and just start throwing everything out. Right. Now that's not a good use of resources. If that's all you're going to do is trash stuff and throw it out on the curb for the trash guys to pick up, you're losing a valuable resource to help with your funds, okay? You could set that out on a garage sale, okay, or, you know, a block sale. You could take some of that stuff possibly to the Salvation Army, all right, or a thrift store, and get some use for that. Sometimes they'll pay you, you know, some funds for, you know, things of that nature. So it's using those resources correctly as you're going through that room. Now, you know, if this is part of a relationship or something like that, the resources that you have with your significant other, you know, you have to look at that financial output and input and have that conversation with them. Okay. Same thing with, you know, with the love that's there. It's like, you know, hey, you may have to have that tough conversation with them and say, you know, I feel like I'm always giving, and you're not, you know, giving back. Okay. And what ends up happening in most people is they'll start pulling back their own resources, okay, of that love, of that joy, of that happiness. Okay. And at the same time, the other person's going to notice it and is like, why are you so grumpy all the time? You know, or why, you know, is this going on? And you realize that, okay, now they're not getting that energy from you. Okay. And that's, you know, that's how you can come back and let them know. It's just, hey, you know, this is how I feel, you know, and, you know, I'm not going to continue putting stuff in if you're not going to, you know, be an equal share to that. All right. And you don't want that to be an entitlement either, whether it's finances or love or ideas or, you know, any type of passion that you're putting into stuff. Okay. You know, any type of creativity. You know, there's got to be an equal balance, a give and take, going back and forth with people. Okay. And, you know, you can see this in the world with what's going on, the financial systems, the education systems, the government, the health systems. You know, people are putting stuff into it and it's not helping them, but they don't know how to get out of it. They don't know how to get out of, you know, a better, you know, a healthcare system that's taking advantage of them. They don't know how to get, you know, away from the educational system that's not giving them what they need. All right. Oh, I got to pay more. Okay. You know, we have to use these resources correctly so we can move on, not only in spirit, but help others move on, and we grow collectively, you know, in our spirits. Okay. And, you know, when all that starts happening, you know, within your community and within your, you know, your government and stuff like that, we start to lose faith in our leaders. You know, we start to pull back that energy for them because we're not, you know, should I continue giving into this system when it's not working? Right? So, you know, we need to be aware of the worldly exploitation. We need to be aware of our personal exploitation. Have that guard up. Have that Queen of Bears attitude of being protective of your own self from vampires out there that want to steal your energy. Okay, that aren't reciprocating in the energy or anything like that, because your position is to continue to evolve into that higher being, into that higher spirit, okay, as you continue to walk on your spiritual journey. And when you do that, when your spirit's uplifted and when you're happy and joyful and, you know, you really got that bounce in your step and, you know, you've got that bubble around you of protection. You got the bubble around you from the King of Stones, right? The Page of Bows just running circles around you. He wants to, let's go. Okay? And at the same time, you know, he's looking at it, seeing who's offering you an opportunity. Here's a perfect opportunity, you know, to help somebody out, all right, and work with them to get their lives back. And hey, let's get these honey bee hives, you know, thriving again. All right, let's go put out the fire. You know, let's do it, you know, do what we can to protect what we have so we can continue moving on. And when you're going out there and helping people out, okay, you're not setting yourself up for exploitation. You're setting yourself up for karma points. And once you start cashing in those karma points, you know, things continue to move forward. So, you know, watch the exploitation, you know, going into your day tomorrow. You know, be on your guard and, you know, continue clearing out. And if somebody's coming up to you and wants to take advantage of you, recognize it. Okay, recognition is a big part of awareness, and just say, you know what? I'm not going to participate in that. You know, come up with some sort of clever saying or something like that, you know, hey, I really appreciate that. You know, that's a great comment, but, you know, I'm not into that at all. So I appreciate if you just stop, right? And that way, you know, when you do that, you kind of set your boundary with that person or with a group of people or whatever, all right? And you're protecting yourself from that exploitation that other people want to, you know, give on you. Because as you continue to evolve as a higher spirit, your light's going to shine brighter and brighter. And people are going to recognize that, and they're going to want to knock you down. And this is not what we're about. Okay, we're about lifting other people up, helping them move forward. All right, finding that key to success, helping them in their spiritual journey and spiritual path. So that's today's card of the day out of the Wildwood Tarot deck, Six of Stones and Exploitation. Hit that like button for me, subscribe to the channel, share it with others, give me a thumbs up. And this is D for Spirit's Path. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Take care. God bless. Stay safe, everybody.